Thank you very much, Chrissy. Thank you, everyone. I recognize it's just after lunch. I hope you've had some coffee and ready to get moving into this afternoon session. Thank you for the introduction. Burley Minerals, quick introduction, the disclaimer and the forward statements. Come and grab a copy of the presentation. I'm sure you'll enjoy reading this tonight. A little bit about our projects. Our focus at the moment is Chubb Lithium in Quebec, although we do have some prospective tenements in the Gascoyne. In addition, we have a couple of iron ore projects here in WA as well, one just outside of New Norcia at Urecoin and the other in the Pilbara. Some things that we are working on, but again, the focus is Chubb, and I'll get to it in a moment. A little bit more about Burley Minerals. We've got about 100 million shares on offer as of Friday. The market cap was about 15 million. We had 5.5 million in the bank at the end of the June quarter. You can see our share price has been all over the place in the last little while. I intend to make it better, of course. A bit about the board. Brian Dixon is an accomplished and experienced company director. He's our chair. David Crook, an LCT pegmatite expert, is geologist, and Jeff Brill, a local business leader. So it's a very comfortable, it's a small board, but it's a comfortable and accomplished board. And thank you. My name is Stewart McCallion. I am the MD and CEO. I started in the beginning of August. Now, a little bit about the lithium market, and I think you've heard a lot about that today. We're naturally bullish. We were getting some of our info and intel out of Macquarie recently. We look at that the ongoing demand for lithium is going to be strong, and we're going to see some price rebound in 2024 and 2025 from what we enjoyed last year and the year before. So it's about how we're going to line up our project to what we're seeing here and what our forecast is for the lithium price in the medium to long term. So let's talk about the Chubb Lithium project and Quebec, Canada. Now, Chubb is just outside of Val-d'Or. Val-d'Or is the Kalgoorlie of Quebec. It's got a long history of mining. It's been a gold mining center for the better part of a century. There are several operating gold mines in close proximity to Val-d'Or, but also, and more recently, North American Lithium's project, which is just about 30 k's north of Val-d'Or as well. That just started in February of this year and more recently exported their first shipment of spodumene con. So congratulations to Sayona Piedmont and the North American Lithium team. We're very excited about this, and certainly it aligns nicely with the province of Quebec's plan, which was developed some years ago to improve their strategic and critical minerals industry. So Quebec is well placed in North America. We're talking, it's the sort of northwest corner of the continent, but as you can see, we sort of indicated for these red lines, there's a railway system that runs right across Quebec. That rail line runs down to Montreal, but it also then sort of feeds into port centers at Quebec City, but also at Trois-Rivières. Of course, that's on the St. Lawrence Seaway. The St. Lawrence Seaway is possibly the sort of busiest shipping channel in North America, if not the biggest shipping channel, which extends from basically Thunder Bay and at the western end of Ontario and the western end of the Great Lakes, which is also Duluth in Minnesota, but also then connects the big centers of that part of North America or the United States, including Green Bay, Wisconsin, Chicago, Illinois, Detroit, Michigan, Toronto, Ontario, and then flowing down into Montreal, Trois-Rivières, and then Quebec City. Then leading into, of course, the North Atlantic, feeding then back down into Boston, New York, Philadelphia, etc. So it is a major shipping lane. Quebec is sitting on the St. Lawrence Seaway, and access to the shipping is well established. Furthermore, as I suggested earlier on, there is continuous and well-used, utilized railway system, both operated by Canadian National Railways and Canadian Pacific Railways. That again feeds these ports in Montreal. That rail system then leads down into upstate New York, but it also leads west into Toronto, then Detroit, and then Chicago, et cetera. The point is that the infrastructure is in place. This is in addition to a well-traversed road network that's an all-season. It's well maintained during the winter time, as it is during the summer, of course, which leads into sort of northern areas of Quebec, but obviously it's passing through Val d'Or. And importantly, it also, what you don't really see is that, you know, Quebec's a primary industry type province. It's got, obviously that does have a reasonably significant mining industry, but really, you know, one of its big industries is lumber, softwood, and paper products. So into these areas, you know, there's a network of logging roads and tracks, which then can align quite nicely with sort of mineral exploration projects. And it certainly aligns nicely with the Chubb mineral claims that we have merely 30 kilometers outside of Val d'Or. So a little bit more detail about Chubb. We, Burley Minerals, acquired the Chubb claims in early 2023. We started drilling in April of this year. Then, you know, I'm sure that you're aware, there were some fire bans that were implemented in Quebec as the wildfires stretched across northern Quebec. We had to pull our gear out in sort of May, June, until, you know, the fires sort of obviously were quenched, let's suggest. The heavy equipment ban was lifted in early July. We immediately remobilized our drilling crew because, of course, it's very easy to do so when you're only 30 kilometers outside of the Calgary of Quebec, Val d'Or. All of our suppliers, service providers, and of course drillers were ready to go. We moved back in. We finished a 5,500 or 5,200 meter drilling program at the end of July, and then moved into a geophysics program. So we've been making some great progress on Chubb since we acquired the claims earlier this year. Those results, the assay results from the drilling program, are still in progress, and I expect those back any time now. But again, we finished the geophysics program, and that was just wrapped up last week. The intent of that geophysics program is to really start to identify the extension of the mineralized zone, and I'll get to that in a sec. Again, just to illuminate, North American lithium mine is some 10 kilometers as the crow flies, just outside of Chubb. Now, what we have here, this is the sort of western side of the claims, and it's a series of pegmatite dikes. Now, I was up in Montreal, or I was in Canada by coincidence, in fact, in July. I made a trip to Montreal and drove up to Val d'Or, met with our drilling contractors and geologists, had a good walk around on the ground. The pegmatite dikes that are indicated by the sort of red lines on this plan are sticking out of the ground. There's some excellent outcropping, big, chunky spodumene crystals, great outcrops. We were drilling at the time. Having some excellent intersections. Again, the results from those are pending. But you can see from some of the early results in the drilling that happened in April and May that you're getting some really encouraging results here. Decent intersections, great grades. We're really encouraged by what we're seeing. The drilling program that we finished in July, again, was looking at extension of this mineralized zone. It's open to the south still. It's open to the north. It's open at depth. We were then back on the ground more recently, looking at the geophysics, again, looking at the geochemistry in the area, and obviously on our understanding of the structural. I'd invite you then to take a look at North American's feasibility study and look at their plan of their resource. And again, this is 10 kilometers away as the crow flies. Their resource is a series of parallel dikes. It's not to say necessarily one big thick dike, but rather a network of parallel dikes over an area of about 250 hectares. So Of course, my inclination here is to grow this resource and obviously put some definition around it. I'm interested in what's happening in the south. The pegmatites tend to dive under a bit of cover there, but importantly as well, what's going on in the east. We were out looking at the geochemistry, as I suggested earlier on, in the sort of northeast of these dikes. There's some very good chemical or geochemical indicators that suggest that we could be seeing some extension or additional pegmatite dikes out in the east. Again, we've got to get on the ground and start drilling those to realize what exactly is happening there. This is a long section of the main dike. That's what we're calling it. Again, you're looking at about a 560-meter strike. It's open at depth. You're looking at basically an ore zone that sort of extends, or a mineralized zone. This is sort of the main part of it, but there is a mineralized zone that is a series of dikes. Again, the thickest dike in there is some 5 to 10 meters wide, but some very encouraging lithium concentrate or lithium oxide results. A couple of cross sections. Again, this is the cross section of the main dike in a few different areas. What we're not showing here is the mineralized or the other smaller dikes or thinner dikes to the east and west of this. But look, this is a very mineable dike at this where it stands right now, and I can't just sort of express that enough. Again, there's the potential here for a very low cost, easy startup mining operation. Again, there's no camp required. We've got power line. It's 3 kilometers to a sealed road. So there is the opportunity here that we could get something moving. And in fact, if we could sort of looking at the regulatory regime, which we're doing right now in Quebec, we'll understand, is there an opportunity for a low cost, quick startup mining operation while we continue to grow and define this resource at Chubb? A bit of a photograph of some core. The green mineral that you're seeing in there, that's the spodumene. So it's very prominent in this core, in this ore body. So which also actually presents another opportunity if you're looking at, say, optic ore sorting, So it is thank you. So it's very interesting. There's lots of opportunities here. There's great opportunities for growth, and it's a really interesting ore body. I am going to start doing some met work coming up soon. We're in the throes of a 3,000 to 4,000 meter drilling program right now. We're going to keep going for another couple of weeks until hunting season starts, and we've got to move our rigs out for a couple of weeks and let the moose hunters hunt, and then we'll get back in and start planning our winter drilling program. As I said, Chubb drilling, phase 2 drilling programs commenced. The ANT geophysics is completed. We are up doing some geophysics, or rather the geochemistry recently. So drill results are forthcoming from our first program that was finished in July, and everything is moving. We're making some great progress on the ground. I'm really pleased with the work our service providers, our geologists, and contractors are doing. So stick with us. We've got some other projects. Come and grab one of the copies of my presentation. I'd be more than happy to talk about some of the other things we're doing in WA, and happy to talk about the political climate in Quebec and how things are moving there. So thank you very much for your time this afternoon. I look forward to talking about this further.